direction of this evolution is essentially the blossoming of the soul. So whole rebirth, the cycles of rebirth, which you know is so logical. If there is an immortal soul, as all religions say, then to give it only one term, I can understand. For materialists, there is no rebirth, perfectly fine. But even though for materialists also things are constantly reborn, that is the condition of progress. But okay, there is no individual element. It is understandable that they don't believe in rebirth because they don't believe in soul. Though I'm not going into the argument that, well, that's a fallacious argument. But coming just to the rebirth aspect, why is there rebirth? There are religions which don't speak about rebirth because they are not evolutionary religions. They are finished the moment you are baptized, the moment you accept that I belong to this religion, you are redeemed. Doesn't matter what you do. You may blow up a whole city, you may kill people, but well, you are redeemed just because you belong to you have a surname, you have a name, and you dress up in a certain way, which is one of the most illogical, crass absurdity. I would use the word stupidity that one can believe in, and yet it is believed in. What does Sanatan Dharma say? No, the soul within is like a seed, and it has to grow into its full divine manifestation. That's why we have rebirth. So rebirth is not about reward and punishment. If really it is about reward and punishment, it's very doubtful if any soul will ever reach that point. Because we start by, all kinds of errors born out of ignorance. But it is a constant process of evolution. So the soul keeps learning through experience. It's like a child who starts from kindergarten and reaches the graduation level, makes many mistakes. So these mistakes become a learning process. So it is a constant learning essential and the blossoming of the soul. So this is something very beautiful. Where can it go into this blossoming? Well, one thought is, this is the seventh interesting point. One thought is that, well, it can eventually merge with God. But there's another very interesting aspect which Swami Vivekananda brings out in his Chicago address. He says, because it was a context where he was speaking to people who believe that man is a sinner by birth. Its deeper meaning is something else. The deeper meaning is that when you take material cloak, then you are prone to errors and ignorance, because this cloak is like that. But when it is said you are a sinner, because some great grandsire of yours in a mythical paradise did something he was not supposed to do, probably ate an apple, one of the most innocuous things that one can ever imagine. He was bit by a snake and he fell down. Now, if the story has a meaning, I'm not saying the deeper symbol is there. But what it means is that there was a stage of humanity, it was living with innocence, carefree. It was the vital physical stage, just first human being, living by the law of the animal. It doesn't have the sense of sin. It doesn't have the sense of evil. It doesn't have the sense of good or bad. We can still see that early humanity, Tarzan-like. And you don't feel anything bad about it. Tarzan roams about in the wild, just bare-breasted. And when, he falls in love, he does everything, physical, vital, emotional. He doesn't feel bad about it. And it's so beautiful to see him like that. But yet it is an animal state. So as we grow through the sense of good and bad, virtue and vice. But eventually, even this must end. Good and bad are not the beginning and end of the world. Good and bad is a passage. And where does it lead to? It leads eventually to the blossoming of the divine nature. So Swami Vivekananda brought it out very beautifully that we are essentially divine, not only in our core, but also in our nature. And this divine nature and the process of rebirth is like chipping off. Our early births are like stone, hard rock. And the gods are laboring to chip it off, little by little, through a passage of time. In one life, if they chip us off, it will be like terrible. So it takes time. They chip us little, till finally out of this stone emerges the beautiful god or the goddess which is concealed within it. So deep within, all of us have a divine nature. But that gets distorted. This is another very beautiful evolutionary perspective. So when we look at things like that, then we understand that every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. So within every Ratnakar, the dacoit, there is Valmiki, the great poet. Within every Angulimal, there is Anand. Jagai and Maghai, there is the disciple of Chaitanya. So this is because this divine nature is in everybody. And it needs the grace of the master. It needs a path, a process, aspiration, call it whatever. And we all can realize it.